Good morning, everybody. You're tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Amnon, your host for the next hour or so, along with Nick.
Good morning.
And a good morning to you, too. And Gal is here from Canada.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Get him out.
The image will be terrible, but I hope the voice is okay.
No, it's fine. And Katie's here.
Burning.
Good morning. And Spence is here.
Good morning. And Gal, what's the tariff on megabits per second for your connection?
Well, right now I'm here. The moment I pass the border, I'll tell you what they charge.
The
Our-
exit fee.
Our number is 561-518-9773, and this morning's show is made possible by VMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Life Streaming Gear. So another week went by. What's going on?
AOL's officially dead as of what? I think it's today.
Well, not completely AOL.
Well, excuse me. AOL Dialup.
Yeah.
Is complete. I think it's today. I think it was the 31st, or it may have been Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, that's great because there'll be a lot less traffic on the internet, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you just closed the toll booth. Come on, it's not that much.
Wow.
Yeah, dial-up, man, dial-up.
Dial-up is still internet.
funny.
Come on.
Yeah, it's funny describing dial-up to 20-somethings today, and they look at you in fascination.
You know where I found out that some level of dial-up is still being used? It's already been turned off for a while, but power companies and water utilities and natural gas companies at their their various hubs and stations where they monitor, in case of natural gas, might be pressure. For a power utility like Duke, they might measure some level of voltage or current or whatever. But most of those have already switched to many of them had switched to 3G a while ago, or 2G a while ago. They've had to upgrade their equipment. So I'm sure for something, especially really remote area pump stations or whatever, where there's no line of sight to use a little Yagi antenna at 900 megahertz, or there's no cell service. I'm sure those folks are having to scramble a little bit, but that's probably the majority of it.
And they may be able to find another dial-up provider. If
Yeah, I mean,
AOL
that's
was
the
what they
thing.
used. I
Yeah,
probably
I mean,
didn't use AOL, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, they may have. If it was a large company, I mean, you may have been able to get some bulk deal nationwide for having, I don't know, 1,500 AOL connections across the country or something like that. Who knows?
Well, I mean,
So yeah.
All they needed was running a router, a modem router on their end. They didn't need an ISP for that.
right.
They could be their own ISP, right?
Yeah.
It's just the infrastructure is a lot easy to maintain if it's dial-up.
Yeah, because they can actually connect to their headquarters, and from there they go to the internet.
But if they were going to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Nick said the smartest thing to do would be to roll it out to cellular.
Yeah. Well, there's actually down here, this was a couple of years ago, probably 5 or 6 years ago, when I was doing some broadcast engineering work. One of the tower sites down here had a Duke Energy facility in it, and it was still it was a hub. It was a pager system hub, and Duke was using pager frequencies. It was all self-hosted, but pager frequencies for some of their data. I don't know if that's still in use or not, but it was interesting to see literally a pager cabinet sitting inside of a facility, and I guess all their sites were pinging it, and then from there they could, download all the data and get what they needed.
Yep.
Back in the
Because you're
day.
talking about very small amounts of data. I mean, when you're measuring what is the current amperage on whatever, I mean, you're talking about like literally bits worth of data.
Right.
I mean, it's not like in minuscule amount, and it's not, and it doesn't need to be constant. It can be a 5 or 15 minute poll. It's not like doesn't have to be all the time.
Back when I worked for IBM in the Hudson Valley, one of our largest customers was Central Hudson, which is the local power provider. And we didn't own the infrastructure, but we sold them all their communication gear for SCADA, which is the system that you use to manage plants, power plants, factories, all the infrastructure. And it was interesting because I got to know what was out where and transmission stations and monitoring, like you said. It was banks of these 56K commercial grade 56K modems.
All right. There's some kind of news. Mastodon
Oh yeah,
says it cannot
Dinosaur?
comply.
Oh.
What?
I said
It's
the
a social-
dinosaur.
it's a social media.
Oh.
It cannot comply with Mississippi's new age verification law because its decentralized software does not support age checks and the nonprofit lacks resources to enforce them. The social nonprofit explains that Mastodon doesn't track its users, which makes it difficult to enforce such legislation. This is coming from TechCrunch. Nor does it want to use IP address based blocks, as those would unfairly impact people who were traveling. So, and Mastodon is being used by different providers. It's the platform.
That's what I would say is for Mastodon doesn't have control. If and Gal actually might even have one, or I think you did at one point. Gal, didn't you have a Mastodon instance you were running at one point?
Yeah, I think I spun up something.
You spin yours up. They don't have any control over that or any link to that. Or you choose if like it's completely decentralized to that point where that's not what you do on your Mastodon instance really is of no concern to them, and that's intentional.
And that was the same point I made last week about Blue Sky. Exactly the same point.
Correct.
Yeah. That's the way it is with a distributed system. There is no centralized control. There is a limit that you can put on your server as what Mastodon said. You can put IPs, but that doesn't mean anything. That's the thing, right? So it's interesting here that Blue Sky isn't even putting a fight up, right? They're just saying we're just going to do this. But Mastodon, right? A nonprofit, I would call it a huge hobby project, right? I mean, yes, I'm guessing there are some people who actually get paid around it by donations and stuff like that, but it's basically a project of interest more than a project for profit, right? And they
Sure.
come and say, it's nice that you made laws, but they're not enforceable. And I agree with that. That law isn't really enforceable. It'll be interesting. It's going to be interesting. I think it'll be very sad if the lawmakers decide to hunt down the hobbyists, right? The hobby servers. It'll be interesting if what's based on Mastodon? What's their name?
Matrix.
No, the social media, the Gab. What's their name?
Gab.ai. Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting if, let's say, Gab are hunted down as an entity that, at least on surface, is supposed to be for profit, right? And they do or do not do something about where the user comes from. Stuff like that. that will dictate what happens with Mastodon. That's the way I feel anyway.
Yeah. I'm not in Mississippi, obviously, but I just logged into my Gab account for the first time in probably 7 years, and it is still up. I can't tell. I know that they went to Mastodon early on. They were one of the sites to switch over, but then of course they had a bunch of problems because the so-called free speech crowd that created Mastodon were like, oh, these radicals are on our platform, and I think they blocked it from Federation. So I don't know if they're still on Mastodon or not.
I mean, blocking from Federation, right? That's server by server choice. So
it is, but I believe that Mastodon has a not a blacklist. That's too strong of a word to use. But I believe that they had something early on which was kind of like a recommended. There were Mastodons that were recommended not federated by Mastodon, I think, and a lot of them a lot of it was like nothing more than spam instances to try and sell Bitcoin scam and a whole bunch of other garbage and crap like that. And I think Gab fell into that same category, which was a huge problem.
Wasn't and I don't know if it still is the Trump's
Truth Social? I don't.
It started on Mastodon. Remember, because
it might be.
They couldn't get anybody to the platform.
There was something that they didn't want to give Mastodon credit or something on the site, and they couldn't.
So, Truth Social is on Mastodon
right now. Okay,
yes.
so I guess
opensource.truthsocial.com,
okay.
And they've got their version. They have a highly customized, but yeah, it is a version of.
Okay.
They use two different tools. One is Truth Mastodon. The other is called Soapbox. I've never heard. I don't know what that is or what that does. So yeah, they are on Mastodon.
Yeah,
Mastodon's cool.
Truth Social uses Mastodon as its backend. Yeah.
Pretty neat.
I still have an account that I don't check often, but it was an early small group of.
Yeah, but I mean, it works. It used to be really kind of.
I was always confused by the Federation part of it.
Yeah, it's always very confusing. It was
kind of weird just to, I had to, it took a while for me to learn the interface and really figure out how to use it properly. When you want to do a thread, how you did it. And eventually I figured it out. But it was nice because I knew a lot of the people on it because it wasn't that big. I don't know what it is like now. I just logged in again. But.
Yeah, and keep in mind, right? Federation isn't that hard to grasp. The moment you think about email is the most federated system that we're using these days, right?
I think what Spence might be referring to, and I remember this as well, Gal, was the interface, like the dashboard for a Mastodon server in the early days did not handle federation well.
No.
Like to try and figure out where a post was coming from or how to interact with a post that was federated from somewhere else. And this is in the very early days.
Yeah.
Was almost an act of God to be like, oh, I'm actually able to interact with this post or find it. It was, I assume that it was cleaned that up, but it was brutal.
It looks a lot better than it used to be. And I would have like 3 or 4 columns because I'd have the smaller group, the larger group, and then the full group. And so it was, I really liked it because a lot of the people were local to North Carolina too, which was nice.
Yeah. Mastodon's cool.
Back when Twitter was a cesspool. Well, it's still a cesspool, but it's a better cesspool.
Oh.
Social media cesspool.
Anyway.
Part of the name.
All right. Credit reporting giant TransUnion has disclosed a data breach affecting more than 4.4 million customers' personal information. In a filing with Maine's Attorney General Office on Thursday, TransUnion attributed the July 28 breach to unauthorized access of a third-party application storing customers' personal data for its U.S. consumer support operations.
These are probably the worst people that this can happen to. Right?
Bec-
TransUnion, the ones who handle credit scores, you know?
They were saying that no credit information was stolen.
I was going to say
It's
that.
just-
Yeah, they made it very. They said that, but they provided no evidence that
Correct.
That's a hard thing to prove evidence on. But they have claimed that. So,
At least they're disclosing it, like not waiting a year to tell us it happened.
well, the only reason it sounds like they're disclosing it is because the Maine Attorney General was crawling up their
Yeah.
ass about what's going on here, and that was part of their reasoning.
Yeah, and it happened, July 28th. I mean, we're...
Yeah, it happened a while ago.
Oh,
I got a notice just recently offering me free monitoring service again from a financial provider for a breach from a year ago that they just disclosed. So yeah, that really helps me.
and talking about breaches and stuff, Nevada has
Hold
been...
on.
Yeah,
Hold
go
on.
ahead.
This is an interesting one.
Okay.
Spence, you have been registered to these services for a while.
Yeah.
And did any of them alert you
Nope.
of breaches that you were part of?
Nope.
That's
Okay, I
bad.
rest my case. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there you go. All right. I probably have three.
Now you make me very, very proud of not even shelling for a single one.
Well, the good news is I'm not paying for any of them because they're all given to me
I know.
free because of the breaches. So I as one expires, sure, there's a new breach that I can sign up with another one. So
That's me. I'm in that situation. My school apparently got hacked a few years ago, so they gave us 2 years for free checking or whatever, or whatever. And then something else got hacked, and then I got another 2 years. And so I'm gonna have the background check thingy, whatever, covering me for like the rest of my life because everybody keeps getting hacked.
Don't you guys have a problem? Right, the first thing you need to do in order to be tracked by these systems, right, is provide all of your information. I'm waiting for the moment when we hear that one of these services have been hacked.
Well, they had
Right.
didn't Expedia or not Expedia. I don't know.
Well,
Didn't
the
one of the big credit thingies?
Experian, yeah.
Yeah, they got hacked like 5 years ago.
No, that was...
Those,
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's not Expedian, it's the other one, but
Fax. What is it?
Equifax?
Yeah.
Equifax.
like-
Yeah.
Like 5 times they've been breached. It's not once, but it's that's the thing is those credit unions, they get their information whether you want it or not. But now they're saying, hey, if you want, we can protect you by another entity, but you need to supply all of your information to that entity.
Equifax offers their own monitoring service. I would trust them.
Yeah, of course.
They have a lot of experience.
That's
Yeah.
what that's what they do. They
Yeah.
do it in order to gain experience. Okay, let's see what happens if this.
This reminds me of the 80s marketplace for antiviruses, where where viruses would be developed by the antiviruses company in order to test the capability and stuff, but they would get out, right? And eventually, you could only be protected if you bought the antivirus software from those who created the virus, right? I don't know if you guys remember that, but in Israel it was a terrible shit show.
You know,
So
That's what the mob does. They come in
Yeah.
and they say,
Yeah.
hey, in order to protect your
Protection,
laundromat, you need to pay protection. Oh, we
Yeah,
don't need to do it. And the next day, the shop's destroyed, and they're like, "Do you want to pay for protection?" Yes.
Yeah.
They break the glass, then they come in the next day. Hey, you need protection.
Yep.
Oh, I'm not going to get protection. Put up new glass. They break it again. Oh, I guess I will get protection.
Tale as old as time.
Yep. All right. I have not heard about this before, but the report here says that Microsoft has found no link between the August 2025 security update and customer reports of failure and data corruption issues affecting solid state drives and hard disk drives. Anybody heard about anybody complaining? I mean, this is the first I hear about it. They were saying that
Why would they come out and say there's no fire?
I don't know.
Like what?
It
what
says
what would prompt that?
Redmond first told Bleeping Computers last week that it is aware of users reporting SSD failures after installing this month Windows 11 24H2 security update. In a subsequent service alert seen by Bleeping Computer, Redmond said that it was unable to produce the issue on up-to-date systems and began collecting user reports with additional details from those affected.
Well, it's basically we don't know yet. That's what they're saying. This is interesting. I'm working now with SSDs a lot, right? The company I work for, they create SSD storage in the petabytes. It's fascinating what they're doing. And SSD has tons of tiers. And what is usually shipped in computers and personal computers these days, the M2 sticks, they are somewhere, let's call it mid-range to top tier SSDs. Hence the price. That's why they're very, very pricey. There are a lot of cheaper flash storage, which they behave a bit different than SSDs. But what's common to all of them, right, is what we feel like very, very fast read and write is sometimes and it's sometimes imaginary high speeds of write because there are some buffers of RAM that facilitate that speed. It is slow to write to flash storage, very, very fast to read from it because flash storage works by erasure stripes, right? And so you can't change a bit. You can only erase a large chunk comparatively to the memory, to what you need to write. So even if you want to write, I don't know, 1K file, right, you still might need to erase 1 megabyte of file. So you need to upload that 1 megabyte of file to RAM, erase it, and then write with the changes. And you have a limited lifetime. That's true also for magnetic data, but in Flash, that limited lifetime is a few thousands of cycles in mid-range SSDs. So that was the science class part. But that means that the life, once we're talking about drives that have been filled up, then the amount of free blocks that we are writing to every time is very, very small. And so if we are now upgrading an OS that has been on a computer that's been running for 5 years and it's at 80 or 90% full, right? The amount of blocks that we're using just for that upgrade might kill the SSD. And that's like my assumption here. And that's why I'm saying we don't know yet is probably the answer that we're hearing right now. It's not it because they can't say that, but it'll be interesting if we hear in a few weeks, because this will probably blow up, when they say this might happen in systems, that are such and such old, and such full, or something like that.
Mm.
Right?
Interesting.
Yeah.
This week, I was reading, or it might have been last week, a post by Leo Notenboom. Do you know who he is? He's an internet guy. He's a kind of like Leo Laporte, but not as famous.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he just did an article, or he posted a YouTube on it about people backing up, using their only backup onto USB flash drives.
Yeah.
And he said, you need to understand that this is the lowest quality of all the available electronic storage methods, single solid
Right.
state methods. Don't back your machine up just with that. He said, if you're on the road and you want to have extra copies of something and run a backup, if you can't get to your regular backup on that, yeah, that's fine because you'll be using it once, but don't rely on it as your daily backup. He
Mhm.
actually said, if you have a bunch of old spinning drives left, use those. Like I know this is what Mike Phillips does. He's got a library of backups on old spinning drives because they are the ones that can sit there and not be affected by time. And so it was very interesting. He says, yeah, an SSD is okay, but he says I would also, if you've got old spinning drives, I would use those for backup. Also,
I'll give you one more. Uh, Even in large scale storage, right? That's based on SSD. So let's say you need to do maintenance and you need to plug it out, right, from power completely, because I don't know, the rack that the storage is in will need to travel to another location. You should not have it switched off for more than X amount of days before you risk some sort of corruption from powering it up back again,
I didn't know that.
right?
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's
Do
there's a lot.
Is it residual energy still in it, or
Well, it depends on the tier that we're talking about, right? SSD storage on M2 sticks that you buy for PCs, as I said, they're mid to top range. In there, you can store them for months and years, and it'll be safe. But if we're talking about very low quality, uh, it's not so much low quality, but very cheap memory, where there's a lot less uh, um, protection around it, and the way it's stored on the chip is different. There are chips who store 3 levels of voltage, and there are when is read by a bit to compress. There's a lot going on. So I wish I could explain it a lot better, but some of them require some sort of, let's call it a refresh, right, by power being available. And so if you do not have that, then there might be degradation of single bits along the way. And the moment you get to a number of degraded bits, that's when you start to get corruption. You do have data correction information stored with the metadata and all that, but it's limited, right, in its capability. So, yeah, it's interesting technology. It's fascinating, but it's also the realizing that just like with spinning disks, there are a lot of variables that go into it, and it's not just it's storage.
Tape.
Yeah.
That's
I
it.
remember when people were first getting excited about SSDs, and they had the hybrid drives with some spinning disks, some, for faster applications. And there was what is the difference? There was two different specific types of NAND, that one was more reliable than the other. I mean, one could take more writes than the other one would. And I remember
In the beginning, there
were cheaper versions of it.
Yeah.
To save, because they were so
So
expensive that they produced the cheaper ones, and they were
They're still producing them.
Yeah.
They're still producing them, and they have certain applications because, as I said, they're very fast to read from, slow to write into, right? Still, comparatively to spinning drive, they're still fast to write, but there's a difference between the write and read speeds that they can provide. Remember Optane? So when Optane came out, that was that, and it is still. There's another acronym for it right now, and Optane as a brand has died. Intel shut that out. But Optane is very, very fast, almost RAM-like fast in read and write. But it's very, very expensive, right? And so it was used with spinning drives, interestingly, right, to create high-speed storage. And it was phenomenal for the time, and it was very useful. The problem with spinning drives is different because of the mechanics. Putting a spinning drive in a laptop makes 0 sense, right? So once they could stop doing that, no need for Optane. And so the market just died out, the consumer market. But I can tell you that we call these in our product SCM, storage class memory. And that's the point of writing. That's the point of entry of data. Think about RAM that never goes away when you power it off immediately, right? So use that as a buffer, and you can have reliable storage, even if you have power failures, even if you have something that in any other storage will be a possibility for corruption. If you start using that as your RAM replacement for buffers, then you're no longer caching, you're just buffering very, very fast. So it's all about hardware design and streamlining it correctly. But then again, as you said, most people are okay with a USB key, not understanding that that is not a reliable source, a data source, right? Because eventually it degrades, especially if you do not use it to read from it. So,
Yeah.
I have a friend who started a company, never really got off the ground, that was an air-gapped tape drive backup for corporations. So they have a completely separate off the internet backup where they would send them tapes. And it got started, and there are people that are using it, but it never took off the way they'd hoped. And I think they were going to sell it to somebody, but for critical stuff that people just have to make sure is protected.
I still have the tape drive that I used on the servers, Delta Force, at the data center here in Raleigh. That was automatic, and it would
like a robotic one where you put it in and
it's got like a carousel thing, and it changes the tape, the cartridges every day, and yeah.
What was the backup drive that had the click of death?
Yeah, well,
remember that?
never. Yeah, I know, but I never ran into that. It always worked, and I guess it's
that
still
technology. But I had customers that did, and were like, "It stopped working." I said, "Well,
yeah." Okay, talking about storage and backup and stuff. Starting with Word for Windows version 2509, well, I don't know what version we're using these days. Microsoft
25 is 2025. So
what?
09 next month, yeah. Next month's copy of Word, 2509.
Microsoft is making cloud saving the default behavior. New documents will automatically save to OneDrive or another cloud destination with dated file names unless users manually revert to local saving in the settings. So you can still tell it to go locally.
that's
I
kind of
thought
been
it was
true
doing
for a
it.
while. That's the
Yeah.
way it's always been."
I don't know, but I started when reading this. I started thinking now, Microsoft will give you another year of updates to Windows if you are backing up to OneDrive, I guess, to their service. If you're backing up your PC to their service, What is going on here? What is Microsoft going to get? What can they benefit from having your
Because
backups?
next year it's not going to be free anymore, and storage is going to cost you. We just talked about protection racket. This is a protection racket. Come on.
It's
I don't know. I mean, it's like, hey, we want your files on our system so we can look
Yes.
at them.
No, so that we can
And-
upsell you an Office 365
Exactly.
subscription for $7.99 a month,
Oh,
which is a smart
Yeah.
move. I mean, part of the reason that look at and I wouldn't call this a protection racket, but you look at what Apple does with iCloud, right? You get a free, I don't know what it is, 10 gigabytes or something like that of iCloud storage, and with your iPhone, you take all of these photos because
yeah.
it's free to do. The racket is, unless you just don't take any photos with your phone, you need to pay to have greater storage through iCloud. And so you have two options. You can either delete your photos consistently or pay $199 a month to Apple, which is what I and millions of others do
so like
for
50
100.
gig, 50 gig,
Yeah,
100
it's
gig.
50 or 100. Yeah, it's I think it's 100 gigs worth of data.
Yeah, for 50
They get-
it's 99 cents.
Yeah, so you're getting, you get free 10 gigabytes is a lot of storage, but not really when you're taking, photos which are relatively high in their size.
And
It's
especially
the
when
same
they
situation.
When they turn on
H-
automatically by default, they turn on the modes in your camera that take
Correct.
10 frames,
Yeah, the
where that's each frame is a huge file.
Yeah.
I
So
take
this is a new
videos.
business.
I take videos and they use up even more space. Here's what I do. Is it efficient? Negotiable. I pay for a big Dropbox because I work off the cloud, both
Mhm.
personally and for my business. And when I hook my phone into my computer and access Dropbox, it automatically dumps all my photos. I don't think it dumps the videos, or does it? No, it might. I think it might do the videos too. And then it dumps it in like a photo file or whatever, and then I don't feel as bad when I go through and delete my photos and stuff on my iPhone. But it's kind of a pain in the butt. So for people that don't want to think about it, paying the $199 is worth it.
That's exactly what it
Okay.
is. It is cheaper for me to pay Apple $2 a month than it is for me to constantly get the
Sure.
pop up that your phone is not being backed up. You have too much stuff on here. That's exactly the goal, and they've done a very good
So-
job of that, and it's affordable, which I appreciate.
Question.
Yo.
Question to the Apple crowd. Can any application other than Apple's apps have access to the images taken by the camera on the
Yeah.
phone?
I just said
Only if you
Dropbox.
give it, you have to give it express authority to do so.
Okay. So the cheapest solution, right, would be running something like SyncThing, which does that without any middleman from your device to your computer, right? But for some reason, that is not like if that was something that was developed by the big companies, right, then everybody would use it. But this is something that has been developed on the side. There's just one commercial product that I know that does exactly that, and that was BitTorrent Sync. I think it's called Resilio today, and SyncThing is the open source alternative. Trust me, running that thing today compared to when it started is amazing. You do peer-to-peer synchronization. It's completely automated. If you use more than one peer, you actually increase the bandwidth because it uses something like BitTorrent in the back end, right? And it's free. Like it's based on what you already paid for. You bought the storage, you bought your devices, then the data is yours. No intermediary is involved, right? That's what everybody should be using.
Can I make this though as a counter, not a counter argument, but a counterpoint that so you're backing up your data to your computer, correct?
Right. That's one.
You then yes, but then at the same time you also will need some sort of backup solution on your computer to provide some level of resiliency for that data.
I would trust your computer more than I trust Microsoft's, right? Because at least, okay, then I would trust the computer at my dad's in Israel, or in your case, New York, right? You create a network. Everybody has a computer today, right? You create a network that does that for you. You do not need somebody else's server. That's my
I see
point.
what you're saying. Okay, so you're alternative. So you're equivalent to a cloud backup, quote unquote, which is what you get from, iCloud and stuff. Is having another physical device in a separate location that is also syncing that data in real time. That is your
Right.
cloud backup equivalent, for lack of a better term.
And do the math, right? You buy a few terabytes of a drive and place them somewhere. It's still cheaper than the $199 a month that you're getting, and you're not limited in either bandwidth or storage.
I will give
And
Apple
you can
credit
actually
for this. I will say this: they have been very smart. Apple loves to price gouge, right? You spend it's like $600 for a monitor stand or some ridiculous nonsense if you buy a Mac. They have been very smart in their pricing for iCloud because it is such a minuscule amount of money. I mean, $24 a year, such a small amount of money that it is an absolute no-brainer for 90+% of iPhone users. If it was $599 or $799 a month for 100 gigabytes, which I think you can buy that plan, but you're getting a terabyte worth of storage. If it was that, then I think, you'd see a lot more probably emphasis on finding that alternative. But for $24 a year, I think it is people are hard pressed to try and put in any time or effort to find an alternative because it is so. I mean, it's kind of the original Spotify price model, which made it so lucrative.
$25 a year for how much?
I mean, yeah,
I don't remember what it is. It's
50
either 100 or
gigabytes, right?
no, it's more than that. It's a couple
Okay,
hundred gigs,
100.
I think. Yeah,
there is.
100.
Go ahead.
It's more than the phone or less than the phone storage?
depends.
You have to. You are forgetting another point here, Gal. Again and again, you need to think outside the box. Most people, users, will not know how to do it.
That I disagree.
Wait.
They only need to be pointed to a single installation. They don't need to think hard.
No. They have to think.
OneDrive and stuff
They have
like
to
that.
think a lot harder than to go into their iPad or iPhone and click a box and say, "Yes, I want
Oh,
that much,"
yes.
and that's it.
I agree. And that's because none of these big companies bake that into the OS. But what I'm saying, that should be the go-to.
Well,
Setting that up isn't more complicated than setting OneDrive. Okay? It's start it up, say this is the folder, and then you go to the other end and say I want to share it with it. It's not a complicated technical.
it's you see again. Think outside the box for old grandma that has
No,
pictures.
You're thinking inside the box. That's exactly the thing. It's not, the solution is so easy, right? That you can teach grandma. But you know what? You don't even need to teach grandma, because if you're doing it with grandma once, she doesn't need to think about it anymore. Exactly by what Apple and Microsoft did.
Okay,
They
now
ask you a question, yes or no, right? And you say yes. And from that moment, you don't even know that you're hooked until you start getting the messages saying you're running out of space and your backups are going, right? The scare tactics. So it's not about I am already out of the box, but
well,
it's getting other people out of the box and understanding that it's not hard. It's not. There's you don't need to know IPs. You don't need to know anything. You need to know how to operate a phone and how to operate a computer and understand what a file is. That's it. And that is what people already know.
And again, I agree with what both of you are saying, but there is so little incentive because of the price.
mhm.
And that is the argument I will make. The vast majority of people in the United States have $24 a year to spare. Not everybody, of course. Yes, I know I'm painting with a broad brush, but at $24 a year, what is your incentive to find an alternative is minimalized because of the price. Now, Apple at some point, if they're smart, they'll keep it this way forever. But at some point, they'll get greedy and they'll update the $199 to $299, and they'll take the Spotify approach. And the next thing you know, it'll be $7.99 a month to back up 100 gigs worth of photos. At that point, you will see folks starting to venture outside the box as to, okay, what are my alternatives? What used to be $20 a year is now $80, $90, $100 a year, whatever the price ends up working out to be. That then I would suspect these will have some renewed interest from Joe Schmo public. It's just too cheap, Gal. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's so freaking cheap, and it's so simple, and you do literally nothing. You don't have to worry about anything else. And I know in the example you're setting up, there's not a lot either. But you have to have you have to work with somebody to get set up on their computer. You've got to make sure that it is some level of always on or on enough that it can consistently be part of the synchronization. It's not worth $2 a month to go through the bullshit.
What you're describing is it's so cheap to eat McDonald's every day that I would just eat McDonald's and not think about the nutrition ingredients.
That is a real thing that not tens of millions. Well, actually, maybe tens of millions of Americans do every single day with fast food, and that is also a problem.
Agreed.
There's no question about that.
That's the problem. So I mean, we are in agreement here, but that's the equivalent.
And there is another thing, with other people.
And I don't appreciate you attacking my eating habits either. That is a low blow.
Hey, I didn't talk about Wendy's. I just talked about McDonald's.
Very uncalled for.
You said everybody has a computer, Gal, today.
Yeah.
A lot of these computers come with 512 gig of hard drive, 256, because the people that are buying them today are buying them to use on the internet. So you have to find somebody who has a desktop and he knows that that they got enough space and blah, 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 blah. Now, wait. You also mentioned you can just buy a few terabyte drive and put it there. That knocks it completely out of the park, in my opinion, because $100 of a terabyte drive is going to cost about $100.
But you can store that much. You can.
No, I understand. I understand. But how many years of backup is this going to cover when you're thinking about $24, or in my case, on Kathy's iPad, it's $10 a year.
Oh, you're on yeah. So I think it's 50. It's either 100 or 50, and then it's either 200 or 250.
It's 99 cents for 50 gig.
Okay, then it's $199 for maybe 150.
Okay,
so. I don't remember.
Yeah, so it's still. I mean, you have to look at it and say, okay, now all these years, and I still have to worry. I mean, running out of this one, you can just go and click and say, okay, just up it a little bit. There's merits to both.
Oh, absolutely.
But it's more for somebody who knows how to do things, and they trust what they're doing, and they feel. I mean, why do we have backups? We have backups for ease of mind, for what do you call it? Peace of mind. And if you don't know what you're doing, but somebody's telling you, that works, that's not like saying, okay, here, do it. Check the box, and it's being done. For somebody that has a little bit of technical knowledge, yeah, absolutely. Do it. Absolutely. I mean, if I wanted to do it, I would take a little laptop or a little desktop and actually put it at grandma. And do it. But no. Anyway, I think we molded enough. Nick, what do you have to say about this? The
Sure.
Federal Communication Commission has rejected a call from the National Association of Broadcasters and some industry trade groups that would have imposed cable-style regulatory fees on streaming services, tech companies, and pure broadband providers. In a report and order issued on Friday, the FCC reaffirmed that regulatory fees are calculated based on the number of full-time equivalent employees assigned to specific industries under the agency's jurisdiction. Broadcasters, satellite operators, and other licensees are already assessed annual payments which help the FCC's operational costs. So they were calling, hey, put some fees on these guys. And they said no.
Yeah, the NAB was. That's not surprising. The
Yeah,
NAB is, for the large part, a relatively useless organization. That's not a surprise. This FCC, whether you like it or not, and many folks don't like it, and that's totally fine. Brendan Carr, who's the FCC commissioner, who, by the way, is not a new guy. He was previously serving on the FCC board under the Biden administration. Previously, it was 3 Democrats, 2 Republicans. That's how, with the party that's in charge gets the majority. So he's not a new guy to the FCC. He's not some random guy off the street. His stance on the FCC's I shouldn't say goal, but their purpose is, I would argue, far different than what we've seen in the past. I mean, for example, this week, Brendan Carr, there was a carrier disputes happen regularly with major networks. Fox Broadcasting, and YouTube TV were under a carrier dispute, and it's been running for the last 2 weeks or so. The coverage was supposed to stop some point late last week, or some point late this past week. And the FCC commissioner came out and was hammering both sides on this. Get this deal done. You've got tens of millions of subscribers that rely on YouTube TV for content and rely on some of the content from their local Fox stations and Fox Sports and everything like that. And so you're seeing a very different tone and a very different attitude from this FCC than what we've seen in the past, and I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
and
It's great. It's great to see, and obviously I'm saying this because I agree with what's going on, but it's great to see. I'm not oblivious to that fact, but it is great to see the FCC and the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, as well. It seems like they are doing more that is consumer. Seems like they're doing more that has a direct consumer impact. At least maybe they're publicizing it more, which I'll argue is half the battle. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that goes on, but the government entities often do a piss poor job at talking about it. This FCC and this FTC are doing a really good job at making this stuff public. I mean, I don't remember in the past seeing the chairman or chairwoman of the FCC coming out when, NBC had a dispute with DirecTV and was threatening to drop all NBC channels, or Viacom, or whoever it was at the time. I don't ever remember the FCC talking about that publicly, and it's good. It should. I mean, this is one of the areas in which the FCC is engaged and should be. So I think that's good.
And talking about, you mentioned FTC.
Mm-hmm.
So the FTC chairman, Andrew Ferguson, accused Google of using partisan spam filtering in Gmail that sends Republican fundraising emails to the spam folder while delivering Democratic emails to inboxes. I don't know.
100%. I've got real proof and real evidence of this in my own inbox. I am subscribed to a lot of Democrat email lists, so I can keep, so I can see what the narrative is. For the most recently, I subscribed to Roy Cooper's Senate campaign email list. Those are 100% of the time. Those are in my inbox. Michael Watley and other Republican groups, every single time it's in promotions. Every single freaking time.
Wow.
So that there is.
I didn't know. I was going to say, is that for real?
It's 100% for real. My own now that I clean up my Google inbox, I can't show you guys the proof, but it is 100% a real thing, and I see it every single day because I get probably between 15 and 30 fundraising or partisan emails a day just to keep up to date with stuff. And it's 100% accurate.
I wonder though if it's because their IT team is better or not.
Now, because they're all pretty much using Constant Contact or some other big provider. No, I can't imagine from everything I've seen, none of these guys are rolling their own email server system. So
you still need to understand DKIM, and you still need to understand certificates and stuff like that.
I would from what I've got, I would gather that the Republican senatorial committee out of DC that pulls in, literally hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars a year worth of advertising. I'm very confident that their DCAM and whatever stuff is set up accurately, yet their stuff is, well, actually I know it is because I'm not getting an alert on the email that says, because when somebody doesn't have that set up correctly, you will see that this could be spoofed or this sender cannot be verified. I'm never seeing those messages.
Yeah, and the thing is, if it's not decammed right, if it's not set up right and all that, it will not even reach your spam box.
In some cases, yeah,
it will be bounced. They said, no, this is not right. But the fact that it's reaching your mailbox and going to spam, that's the thing. So it says that Ferguson sent a letter yesterday to Alphabet CEO accusing the company of potential FTC Act violations related to partisan administration of Gmail. Ferguson letter revives long-standing Republican complaints that were previously rejected by a federal judge and a federal election commission.
I'll take some screenshots this week as
no, I mean it's
emails roll in. Well,
it's fine. It's not. I don't think it's that interesting, but I would like to learn more about the logic behind it. All we know is Gmail always presenting the spam filter based on the AI model that's built by its users' feedback, right? Users, at the moment, a lot of users are marking something as spam, right? And that updates the spam filter. But the model, the interesting thing would be, how is it updated from time to time? And does it take other reaction within your mailbox? That's how I would want it to be, right? If I mark something 5 times as not spam, I want the bot that decide what spam is and not to learn my preferences about it, right? And if I mark, I don't know, every incoming mailing list from Republican sources as not spam, even though they did show up as spam, I would expect it to learn my preferences. At least that's what you're asking.
Well,
this is not asking me to share that data, right?
Yeah, this is not. I don't think this is not spam. Those emails are not ending up in spam for me.
Okay.
They are, and if Amnon goes back to his article, I don't think it wasn't spam, was it?
It is. It says that it's they're ending up in the spam folder while delivering.
Yeah, I would suspect that some of that is true with the spam folder.
I mean,
other parts of it are also having to do with Gmail's their categories that they set up. And the issue that I see from my vantage point is you've got primary, promotion, and then social, I think, are the three categories. I am getting, and it is putting political emails into promotion because they're solicitations for donations, and that's where I'm seeing all of the GOP email asks that I get to try and raise money. Yet a couple of the Democrat lists I am subscribed to, their stuff is popping into my primary inbox. So that is, and the promotions tab isn't equivalent to a spam. It is if you have those turned on, which I assume Gmail defaults it. So unless you have turned it off, it's on. That is the equivalent to me as that's the equivalent as spam.
And
It is taking it out of your inbox. You may not be getting a notification on it, and it is being put under a separate tab.
Nick, how many of these emails in the last 5 years, this type of emails, did you stamp as spam?
I've never spammed any
See,
of them.
here is your answer.
But to me, the spam is one thing. Yeah, because a lot of them are very spammy.
I
so
mean,
can
look-
understand
look.
some of that stuff being caught, but it's really the primary versus promotions. I struggle with this myself. I send out an email every morning at 6:30 for folks that want to keep up to date with some statewide news, and I'm getting constant reports from people that that stuff is ending up in the promotions tab when it's not. I mean, it's not. There's no solicitation. There's no. I'm not begging people for money, right? I'm not saying the Democrats are ruining the earth. Donate $20 now to stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is literally like, hey, here's a couple of local, statewide, and national news stories. Here's the weather for Wilmington and a couple of other things, and it's ending up in promotion, or in some cases, ending up in spam. I've had reports from some of my listeners that that's something that they're struggling with, and it's a Gmail. The vast majority of those reports are coming from Gmail.
Well, as being an ISP, I mean, I can tell you, I can set it up in 2 seconds that any email that mentions Republican or GOP or whatever will go to your spam. Because the spam filter goes by scores. It says if there's that much of this, there's that much of this, assign it like half a point or a point or 5 points or whatever. You can go and say, assign it 10 points. Each and every mail is going to go to spam on your inbox. And I was trapped into thinking that something was wrong with the mail server when EM client that I'm using added another mailbox, another folder to the inbox called junk email.
Yes.
There were things. I'm getting the information, the messages mostly on the computer, but I don't have it on my phone. I'm saying, what happened? What am I doing wrong? What am I deleting them? And when the phone checks it, turns out they were all sitting in junk mail on the phone. And a bunch of them are not. I never marked as junk or anything. They were from Harbor Freight, which I always want to hear from. They were from the server. Server, notices from the server that such and such is happening and this. What in the world?
Yeah, well, you've got a couple of different things going on here. I mean, you've got actual spam and spam reports, and then you've got and a lot of it is driven. And I don't know if it's accurate to call it necessarily AI because these filters have existed for a long time. But then these kind of rudimentary filters that are also running that are determining what is some level of spam,
Right.
what is promotion, what is considered social media, and what are emails that you actually want to see. And there's definitely use to having those things filtered out
Absolutely.
in your inbox because there's so much
Absolutely.
garbage that comes in. But this has been a complaint. This original story over potential partisanship. This is not a new discussion. This has been a complaint by GOP groups for 20 years now with Gmail and some other mail providers, seeing some of these actions play out. This is no breaking news to anybody that's worked inside party politics. And like I have probably sent out, so I guess I'm part of the problem. I have probably sent out hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of emails on behalf of political parties or candidates, and this is nothing new.
You haven't been swatted yet.
No, well, that's true.
All right. It's that time. anything anybody else wanted to mention, talk about? Yeah. I was telling you guys that we are upgrading Delta Force to Debian instead of Arch Linux. And we did the web server on Friday. And the mail server was pretty easy. Pretty fast. We did the one of the web servers Friday night. And it took about an hour. But Ron did, everything worked right off the bat. And true, it's no difference. To me, working on it, it's no difference than what Arch was. And apparently, from what Ron says and from what Gal mentioned last week, it works. It's if you want it to work for you, you use Debian. So we'll see. But
Actually,
everything. What?
Debian is just the first step of sobering up. And if you really want it to work, then you move to Red Hat.
We used the Red Hat in the beginning. I don't know. Fedora. We use
some flavor of Red Hat. Yeah, it doesn't need to be. Red Hat costs a lot of money, but you use the open source alternative.
Yeah. So everything is supposedly better. Anyway.
I gotta bounce.
Okay.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.
Let me see.
Bye.
Can you bounce?
Goodbye.
All right. See you.
guys
Say
next
hi.
week. Bye. Will do.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Nick. All right. So anything else? Okay, guys. So
Enjoy Labor Day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Happy Labor Day, everybody.
Don't work on Labor Day.
No,
You're not allowed to.
I have to. So good morning. Thank you. First of all, thanks, Gal. Thanks, Nick. Thank you, Katie. Thanks, Spence. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Dana, Dina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov, and Yael. Thanks, everybody, for tuning to Computers 2K now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing, back up your hard drive, and update your virus scanner. And don't forget to change any same passwords where you use them. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Again, Monday through Friday, 5 to 6 a.m., Nick hosts the Carolina Journal News Hour on WBT at 11:10 a.m. and 99.3 FM, and it's on YouTube. So just if you're not in the area, just search for the Carolina Journal News Hour on YouTube and you'll find it. And also Nick does Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m., his own podcast, The Nick Craig Show, at nickcraig.com. Just go to nickcraig.com and get the information where to download or to listen to past shows. Again, have a great Labor Day. Have a great weekend. And we'll be together again next week.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.